Welcome back to the incredible story of the rare coffee in this cup, a journey undertaken by one young Yemeni American determined to bring the fabled coffee of his ancestral land to connoisseurs and enthusiasts everywhere. It's a tale of tragedy and also of hope, and of coffee, of course, documented in the best-selling book The Port of Mokha and retold to be by Mokhtar al-Kashali himself when he last visited the Philippines.
Sounds like a fairy tale to me, and it probably is a fairy tale with a happy ending so far. But like any fairy tale, there are always these parts in the story where things get really, really desperate. Let's go back to the point in Yemen, where you found yourself one morning in the middle of a civil war. What was that like?
I remember it was March 25th, 2015, and I woke up. I just heard these explosions and these rumbles, and first I thought it might be an earthquake or something, and I looked in the sky. It looked like laser beams, but there were anti-aircraft machine guns. The screams of women and children and men, the ashes and rubble of buildings being destroyed. It was very just terrifying. I don't know how, I never experienced war, and to live in that state, it really it changed the way I look at life. That first night was difficult. I remember messaging my mother and father a farewell letter because I didn't think I would live to the morning. And I wish I never had my family go through that. I don't know how she must have felt reading that letter from me. And then waking up and just seeing the devastation, the destruction, and my goal was how can I continue this project? These farmers, I promised them something and gave them hope. When you give people hope, especially people who live and struggle in developing countries, it's a very heavy burden to bear. And I just remember their faces. These are people who we're Facebook friends now. I can't just run away from them. So I was really determined to find a way to take their coffees and sell it and showcase it to the world. And so,
but how?
I first thought, okay, now I gotta leave.
This is where it all ends.
And it was logically there was no way to leave. Like they bombed the airports, and
the seaports.
Yeah, our government, the U.S. government, their message to me when I asked them, can we get rescued? They said, I'm sorry, we can relay your messages to your loved ones via our website. I tried to leave through the port of Aden in the south. And in the book, the last third is very traumatic, and it goes through me being kidnapped and things I had to go through, and through a series of really incredible events. I found myself in the Port of Mokha, the city and where the story of coffee all began, and I caught a little small fishing boat, dinghy, you can say. It was about 18, 20 feet long, and across that ocean, the Red Sea, I remember when you're in that moment and you're in those kind of difficult spaces in life, you have to find something to hold on to. For me, I believe in God, having faith in something bigger than yourself, and knowing that your fate is not in your hands, really. It's really liberating in a way, because there's no logical trajectory to get me from there to being interviewed with you today. And so I just made this prayer. I said, God, you helped Moses and his people cross the sea, the Red Sea. Please help me cross the sea today. I know I was going the opposite direction, but I jumped on that boat with my samples. Within about 30 minutes, you're in the ocean now. I mean, you're in this. It felt like I was in one of the scenes out of Moby Dick. The waves are just crashing and just cold and dark, and then you start thinking these really dark thoughts. And man, I don't know if was this a good idea? Why am I here in the middle of the ocean? At least if I died in Yemen, my body would be found. And all these things, and eventually I made my way to Africa, to Djibouti, got to Kenya, and then flew to Amsterdam. I made it back to the airport in San Francisco, and I was told that there would be like a journalist there. But when I got there, David, there was this whole sea of cameras and people, and all hearing my story. And the next day I actually made it to this coffee conference I was supposed to go to. And it was, that was part of it. And yeah, my story has like a bittersweet ending.
Bittersweet, just like coffee indeed, except it wasn't the end. Rather, just the beginning of what would become one of the most exceptional specialty coffee brands in the US. Mokhtar was lucky to have saved his beans, and just as lucky with the free and unexpected media attention. Mokhtar's ordeal gave him the publicity every budding entrepreneur can only dream of. But that fame is virtually useless, at least under the scrutiny of a blind tasting session organized by a legendary coffee company like Blue Bottle.
I'll never forget this day. We got there and there was a table full of 15 or 20 coffees. One of them was our coffee. And I was asking them, what's all these coffees? He's like, oh, we're having a cup in with all these other amazing coffees to see how they taste. And I was nervous because I didn't know how ours would compete toward, these are some of the best coffees in the world. And there was a blind tasting. So at the end, when they revealed the coffees, there was one coffee that just floored everybody. I remember it was on the right corner of the table, top corner. And when they revealed the names, that was our coffee.
Whoa.
David, I can't describe to you the emotions I had. I had to hold myself and my composure before I got to my car and just started crying because I didn't want people just to like the story or the pictures. I wanted people to respect the hard work that went into making this coffee. So for them to buy it, and then they charged $16 per cup for this coffee. I was very nervous because I had never heard of coffee that expensive. But they told us, well, because you're charging us this much,
It's also very rare, that's why.
Rare, and because the coffees are just expensive to buy, and it sold out within a month in all their cafes. We had the first week, I think it was 40 million online impressions from articles. There are people who would go to, okay, we gotta try this bougie coffee. This is like, who the heck would buy coffee at this price? And they would drink it and they would, okay, that coffee is actually really incredible. And so that was really wonderful.
It was success after success from that point on for Port of Mokha coffee and for the farmers of Yemen and the Yemeni coffee industry, which have benefited most from Mokhtar's amazing story, memorialized in Dave Eggers's best-selling book, The Monk of Mokha.
I was so nervous when it came out. I didn't know how people would react to it. We went to the publisher's house, or publisher's building in New York, and I got up on the elevator, and the first thing she said to me was, I did not know that coffee came from cherries. And I was like, really? And she's like, I had no idea. I learned about the way it's processed. I will never look at a cup of coffee the same way. And this is what makes me really happy. Like, I gave up my personal life, my personal story, which is, it's hard to be vulnerable. I don't look perfect in this book. There are a lot of the things that are very embarrassing, but I did it because I was hoping that people would learn more about coffee, about immigrants, about the world we live in. So I get really happy when that happens. And yeah, and I feel like it's a responsibility now to help other farmers. That's why I'm here in the Philippines too.
Mokhtar is currently working with a foundation set up by Henry and Sons for Itogon's coffee farmers. Training in coffee growing, trading, and tourism is now underway, but one product has already come out of this collaboration, a unique and one-off Port of Mokha blend combining Arabica beans from Itogon and Yemen.
But there's so many things that can happen, and I feel that I'm supposed to catch a flight later tonight to go to Taiwan, but I don't know how it's going to happen. I don't want to think about it right now.
Oh, you're free to stay. Funny because Port of Mokha and Itogon, symbolic, isn't it? This is you. Your legacy blended into our own heritage.
I just noticed this right now. That's actually very true, and it's getting a little emotional, to be honest, because like when people, for coffee, it's not just the beans, it's part of you. Like when people learn about our country, our culture, it's hard to explain to them that, but when you give them something like coffee, they'll learn about it. You'll start to Google things. You learn about Benguet strawberries and clemency, those really nice limes. And so I hope that this kind of partnership continues, and that together we can figure out a way to bring people together through coffee, bring cultures together, and
this is you.
Really,
this is you in a can.
This is actually
tied to our country forever now.
This is to my knowledge, I don't know of a blend of Yemen and Filipino coffee ever. So this is really metaphorically beautiful, and it's also very delicious.
Port of Mokha is one of a growing number of premium coffee brands that are adopting fair trade and promoting sustainable farming techniques. The rarest of coffees, after all, are from farms in the most remote, the most vulnerable, the most poverty-stricken, and sadly, like Yemen, the most war-torn regions of our planet. Indeed, if there's any pleasure to be had from a high-priced cup of rare coffee, it shouldn't be for its complex flavor or for the prestige alone, but for the thought of giving back to the farmers that grow and harvest the bean, the original source of that privilege and happiness we call coffee.
And that's all for this episode of Executive Class. I'm David Saldran. Thanks for watching.